Picture this. You stroll into class, barely cracked a book, yet aces seem to fall into your lap while everyone else pulls all-nighters. Every class has that guy. The one who effortlessly dominates discussions, nails every test, and somehow has free time to spare. How do they do it? Is it magic? Nope. Strategy. And today, I'm spilling the tea on 9 cheat codes to become that guy without burying yourself in homework. So let's do this countdown style. Why? Because I'm saving the most life-changing tip for last. So stick around for number 1, because it ties everything together. All right, let's jump in with sit in the power seat, front and center. Stop hiding in the back row like you're trying to nap. Seriously, slide up to the front and center. The power seat. Why? Because it's practically a grade-boosting throne. Research literally shows that students parked in the front rows score higher on tests than otherwise. Fewer distractions, direct eye contact with the teacher, and you hear every word. It's like learning on easy mode. Plus, when you're front and center, teachers notice you in a good way. They'll see you as engaged and might even cut you some slack if you're on the borderline of a higher grade. All you did was change your seat. Zero extra studying, instant advantage. So next class, claim that prime real estate and let the professor wonder when you became so interested. Little do they know, you're just soaking up A's with almost no extra effort. Monotask like a boss. Ditch the distractions. If you're that person scrolling Instagram under the desk or juggling 5 tabs during a lecture, listen up. You are shooting your grades in the foot, and you know it. Multitasking in class is a silent GPA killer. A UConn study found that students who constantly text or browse in class have to study longer later and still earn lower grades on average than their less distracted peers. Ouch, man. Here's the truth. Your brain sucks at multitasking. Oh, I'm a multitasker. No, you're not. Think you can split attention, but really you're just doing 2 things poorly. And every quick text you send means you just missed something important your teacher said. By the time you refocus, you're already lost. Important context, gone. The hack? Focus on one thing. The class. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Close those pointless tabs. It's almost zero effort to not do something, right? But it pays off big. You'll actually understand stuff during class, so you won't need to spend hours relearning what you should have learned earlier later. It's like stealing time back. So monotask like a boss. Sit there, look at the teacher, nod along. Might feel weird to give 100% attention. What are we, monks? But you'll thank yourself when studying becomes a quick review instead of a marathon. Speak up. 1 question at class. Want to stand out without doing extra work? Open your mouth. I'm not saying become the teacher's pet or launch into a frickin' Shakespeare monologue. Just ask one insightful question each class, or answer one question if you halfway know it. This does 2 powerful things. First, it keeps you awake. You can't doze off if you know you plan to speak. Second, it puts you on the map. Professors remember the student who participates, even occasionally. That can mean the difference between a B+ and an A- when they're feeling generous. Also, when you ask a question, you're literally clarifying your own confusion in real time, which means less confusion later, which means less studying. Boom! Efficiency. And here's a pro tip. If something's foggy to you, it's probably unclear to half the class who are just too shy to ask. When you speak up, you look like a genius for being engaged, but you're really just solving your own problem here. It's almost like getting the teacher to do your work. They'll basically re-explain the tricky part just for you. So be the guy who isn't afraid to throw a hand up. 1 question every class. That's all it takes to get noticed and clear up your confusion for free. It's literally their job to be there and answer your questions about the material. Minimal effort, maximum impression. The 2-minute recap. Beat the forgetting curve. Okay, class ended, you're free. Before you sprint out, do one tiny thing that 99% of students are too lazy to do. Spend 2 minutes reviewing your notes. I know, gross notes, ugh, but hear me out. There's this nasty thing called the forgetting curve. Studies show that we forget about 50% of new info within an hour of learning it and roughly 70% by the next day. So that lecture you just sat through, by tomorrow, most of it will evaporate from your brain, unless you quickly remind your brain that it is in fact important. Right after class, skim your notes, or better yet, try to scribble down from memory the 3 main points you remember. It literally takes 2 frackin' minutes. This tiny effort jolts your memory and tells your brain, store this, please. It's like hitting save on a Word document so it doesn't vanish. You will be shocked at how much better everything sticks by exam time without hardcore studying. Think of it as stealing knowledge back from the abyss of forgetfulness. 2 minutes now can save you 2 hours of relearning later. It's the closest thing to a time machine for your brain. A little revisit now, and you won't have to cram like an idiot later. Do it while everyone else is already on TikTok. You'll be the one sailing through the pop quiz because you actually remember remember the last class. Use spaced repetition. Space out your study, ace the test. What if I told you that studying less often could help you remember more? Sounds like a scam, but it's pure science. Spaced repetition is a technique where you review material with gradually increasing intervals in between, and it's been proven to turbocharge learning. Seriously, scientists have shown that using spaced repetition increases the rate of learning. Instead of one marathon cram session, you do short refreshers over several days. For example, after that first review, your 2-minute recap, you legend you, review again the next day for 5 minutes, then a few days later, then a week later. Each review is quick and low effort because you're just refreshing what's already there, not plowing through it for the first time. Your brain says, oh, this again. Yeah, I guess I'll keep this around. Meanwhile, your classmates who crammed once and never looked back at the material again are forgetting everything. Spaced repetition exploits your brain's natural memory cycle. You catch the forgetting just in time and reinforce that knowledge. It's like watering a plant a little every day instead of drowning it at once. The best part? There are apps that do this for you. Anki, Quizlet's long-term mode, etc. They tell you what to review and when, so you barely have to think. Just a few flashcards a day. Minimal effort, maximum memory retention. Come exam day, you'll feel like you'll have photographic memory. The others, they're rereading their notes for the 4th time and still saying, this looks kind of familiar. Not you, you'll know it, with less total study time thanks to the magic of spacing. Test yourself. Don't trust yourself. Let me drop a truth bomb for you. Reading your textbook 5 times isn't studying, it's procrastinating. If you want results with less effort, start testing yourself instead of rereading or highlighting like a frackin' zombie. There's a science-backed reason for this, the testing effect. Basically, when you quiz yourself, you boost your long-term memory way more than just reviewing notes. It feels harder because you actually have to dredge up info from your brain. Ugh, work. But that struggle is pure gold for memory. It's like muscle training for your neurons. So how do you do it with almost no effort? Use practice questions, flashcards, past exams, or even just close your book and recite what you remember. Have a friend or study buddy ask you questions, or ask yourself, no shame there. When you get something wrong, and you will, celebrate. You just found a weak spot now instead of on the real test. Fix it, and you won't forget again. Meanwhile, the I'll just read my notes again crowd is hitting the same lines the 10th time and fooling themselves that they know it. Spoiler, they don't. Not until they test themselves. But by then, it might be the actual test day and too late. Don't be that guy. Be the guy who does a quick self-quiz and nails down the material in a fraction of the time. You'll walk into the exam having essentially seen it all before because you actually practiced retrieving it. That's a feeling of confidence money can't buy, and it costs you far less time than endless passive reading. Buddy, work smarter, not harder. Teach a furry friend. The Feynman hack. Okay, based off the title, this one's quirky, but trust me. If you really want to double check that you know something without hours of study, try teaching it. Now you don't need a real student here. Grab a teddy bear, your dog, heck, talk to the mirror. Explain the topic in plain, simple language as if you're teaching a total newbie. It's called the Feynman technique, after Richard Feynman, genius physicist who knew a thing or two about learning. When you teach, you quickly find out where you're shaky. You'll be mid-explanation and go, and that's the part to review. The beauty is you catch it fast. Also, psychology gives this a big thumbs up. The protege effect shows that students who prepared to teach performed better on tests than those who just studied for themselves. Why? Because explaining something forces you to organize your thoughts and spot the gaps. It's like a mirror for your knowledge. Any blind spots become super apparent. Plus, when you can teach a concept, it sticks in your brain hard. You ever notice how the guy who tutors others in class always seems to ace the exams? Exactly. So be your own tutor. Or find a classmate and spend like 10 minutes teaching each other topics. It's oddly fun, kind of hilarious, and if you're a little bit insane like I am, you talk from your cat's perspective in this goofy professor voice. That might have been too much information. All this to say, it cements the material in your mind with minimal grind. You'll walk into class the next day subtly flexing that you know your stuff, and you hardly broke a sweat learning it. And Mr. Fluffles will be proud of you. That's my cat's name. Sleep your way to the top. Literally. Imagine if I told you that doing nothing could dramatically improve your grades. You'd probably start doing nothing immediately, right? Well, here's your chance. Go to sleep. Staying up until 3 a.m. cramming might look hardcore, but science says it's basically shooting yourself in the brain. Sleep isn't for the weak, it's for the smart. During sleep, your brain is like a librarian frantically filing away all the info you absorb during the day. Skip that process and those files get lost. In fact, one study found that sleep-deprived students saw a 40% drop in memory retention compared to those who got a full night's sleep. A whole 40%. That's the difference between an A and a forgettable C. So yeah, pulling an all-nighter can literally make you 40% dumber with what you learned. The hack here is deliciously simple. Sleep. Like it's your job. Especially before a big exam or after an intense study session, treat sleep as a part of studying. You're not wasting time, you're supercharging what you already put in your brain. Ever notice how that guy in class is alert and fresh, not guzzling coffee by the gallon? Bet he sleeps. Make it a point to get a solid 7 to 8 hours, and if you can sneak in a power nap after school, even better. Naps can give a mini boost to memory as well. While others brag about being exhausted, you'll be quietly smiling knowing your brain is running on a fully charged battery. Work smart, ace by sleeping. Best hack ever. Pareto's law of lazy genius. 80-20 rule. And here it is, the mother of all classroom cheat codes. Don't study everything, just the right things. Let me explain. The top students aren't always the ones who grind 24/7. They're the ones who strategize. Enter the 80-20 rule. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. In school terms, there's usually a subset of material that gives most of the exam questions or the biggest insights in class. Find that, focus on that, and boom, you just saved yourself a ton of time. Honestly, what's the point of knowing 100% of the material if only 20% is going to show up on the exam? Exactly, professors drop hints all the time, the themes they repeat, the topics and study guides, the stuff that makes them perk up with excitement. Pay attention to those. Also, check past exams or homework patterns. You'll notice, say, the history test always asks questions about the same few events, or the math exam always includes that one tricky proof from the homework. That is the 20% to master. Does this mean ignore the rest? Not exactly. You want a healthy baseline familiarity, but allocate your time like an investor. Put most of it where the payoff is highest. This is how you study less but score higher. It's not cheating, it's efficiency. You're focusing on what actually matters, while others are slogging away through every chapter equally. You're cherry-picking the juicy bits that'll make the biggest difference. This is how you walk into class looking like you magically understand everything. You spent your energy on the important stuff, and it shows. Work smart, not hard, the lazy genius way. You made it to the end, which means two things. 1, you're serious about standing out in class without killing yourself, and 2, you now have 9 actionable hacks to make it happen. But knowledge is worthless if you don't act upon it. So here's the deal. Pick one of these tips and try it today or in your very next class. Not tomorrow, not someday, not next week, today. Maybe you'll finally sit up front or actually sleep 8 hours or do that 2-minute recap. You'll see results. I guarantee it. In fact, I dare you to try all 9. You'll basically become unstoppable. Remember, each of these tricks is about working smarter, not harder. Minimal effort, maximum payoff. If you start using them, don't be surprised when classmates start asking you how you suddenly got so good. Now, one more secret hack. Hit that subscribe button or follow, depending on where you're watching. Why? Because I'm dropping more cheat codes for school and life, and trust me, you don't want to miss them. Go ahead, be the smart one who actually takes action. You got this. Time to become that guy in class, the one who wins and makes it look easy. Now stop watching and go dominate.